All right, welcome everyone to the totally unscripted release party. Is that what we call it? Release party?
Yeah. Hey, Joe.
Oh yeah.
And AMA. So we've got Eternal Mickey, we've got Dave, we've got Jason, we've got Greg. I think there are a few other people might pop in and might not, and some people might be camera shy. So we'll see how that goes. And then we of course have the artists that cannot be named yet, not until the very first hatch. And I'm looking up to the other part of the screen because my screens are all different size today to show the.
Yeah, we know you got a command center. You've got different screens.
What's that?
I said we know you've got a command center. You have different screens.
I only have one screen now.
If I do end up cutting out too much, let me know and I'll move.
Right on. That was the only time. So okay, so we can go through the white paper. We can go through like say if we look at if you weren't here already earlier today, we can also show this, which is the main site. We are now in Genesis season. So people who sign up right now, it'll actually be marked on your account, what season you started in, which is going to be a good badge for later, right? That this is, the first season, and it's, everything is going to be super rare that happens in this first season. They're even, just so you know, you're guaranteed if you get a spawn in the Genesis season, you're guaranteed to get at least one of the dragon's names, because the dragon gets 4 names, right? It gets a name for its house, a name for its magic element, a name for its spawn season, and a name for its hatch season. And it's possible you could get 2 Genesis names, and you'll never be able to get Genesis name again after that, right? So it'd be pretty cool.
Genesis.
Yes. And there are a whole bunch. I mean, there are a bunch of different languages, but there are elvish languages.
Yeah.
There are a lot
that
of.
Was a really cool. I know we probably don't have a script or anything, but you bringing that up, just wanted to say like that was a cool moment whenever, because this thing's been in the works for a while, but there was a point that I remember where we talked about names, and there was a discussion, in our team chat where we were like, it didn't take very long. What I'm getting at is it didn't take very long for us to be like, you know what? Yes, this is exactly what we're going to do. And so we started scraping like all these different, like, okay, what am I getting at? Like the different sources of names, you know what I mean?
Right.
Different types of names.
Right.
It's like, all right, how do we get a dictionary of this lore name? How do we get a set of those? And
and they're all like elemental
crowdsourced
based
amongst us all these different sources for names.
Cool.
It is. What's an interesting thing about dragons as a substrate, isn't it? Right? They're kind of a cultural Rosetta Stone when it comes to certain aspects of how you see dragons, right? Because you see them different in medieval culture, and you see them different in ancient Chinese culture, and you see them different in modern culture.
Yep.
And this sort of weird internet culture that mashes them all together and turns them into these memes. Yep. All of that's embedded in it, and it's always been a powerful concept.
Yeah. And we have, we actually put it in
medium.
I'm sorry. We actually put it in thinking, okay, we needed variety. So we went and pulled a whole bunch of real world language names with meanings that related to the elementals, right? So we have, I'm looking here, we have Arabic, we have Armenian, we have Basque, we have Bosnian, Croatian, Czech, Filipino, Finnish, French, Latin, Greek. There's Haitian Creole in this. There's Hawaiian, Malay. There's tons and tons of names in it.
Because everyone everywhere has some sort of dragon in their culture.
Yeah. Well, and then the cool ones and some of them we had to do some work to get in, but Valerian,
Yeah.
Elvish, Tolkien Elvish, Mordor Black Speech, Dothraki,
Yes.
Dragon Tongue.
Yeah. I know at one point I was pushing to shove Elder Scrolls into it as well.
Oh yeah.
I was
actually
like, what else can we do?
It almost seems like you do need like a Thuum shout type of thing out of
it. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yep. And we just added something, and I added it to the white paper. We'll show that in a minute too. I guess you know what? I'll bring it up. When you go in and let me think here. Will I be able to show this? I think I will. That when you go into one of the eggs, so let's just pick this one. Where's it at, Mickey? I think it's in the properties, right? Yeah, the charm making. So you can look in the white paper. Charm making is this 32 byte hex value, a gigantic number, right? And it's created by taking the dragon egg ID, which is just a serial ID, so it's just like, okay, this is number 24, this is number 25, and combining that with the transaction hash of the actual spawn and the block hash that transaction is in. You combine all those, and it's pretty well guaranteed to be unique, and it's pretty well guaranteed to be definitely unique within the block, so that if you threw 3 eggs into the same block, it's still, each one is going to have a completely unique charm of making. And the charm of making is it's a dragon lore thing that comes. I mean, it predates, but the first I understood of it is in the movie Excalibur, when Merlin is bringing the dragon and he teaches Morgana, and she then I think she backstabs him or something. But anyway, she uses it to bring the dragon, but it's a spell that causes the dragon to manifest, right? And so we use that as the basis of spawning your dragon. And we have something that was just developed like 2 weeks ago, and we decided to hold off to roll it in because it'll be something cool to add. And we actually have a readable spell that's deterministically generated from your charm of making, and it's reversible. So if you just brought the spell out, you could get your charm of making from it. And we're going to create what we're calling a binding spell as well, that will only be visible to you in your own window. If the keeper of that dragon or that egg is looking at it, that essentially the binding spell will and it'll probably only be for the binding spell, will probably only be for the dragon, but that essentially it would be a secret, and it would change if you traded that dragon away. But the keeper would have the binding spell only, and in a game it could be super interesting,
right?
Because
and you could also use that binding spell later, and this is the cool thing about the whole platform that I think people are going to start to get the idea of now, is so much of the richness of the DNA of the dragon and the system that they've been placed in order to generate the world, to simulate their world. So much of that stuff is undiscovered space. And so much of that stuff is just a forge for people to use to extend the way they want to. So if any of these conversations spark an idea, it's not, oh no, it's not in the game already. It's like, here's an opportunity to enrich the game by expanding the universe. And it gives people a chance to do that, which goes to a very deep level. You can't call these things right-click brigade susceptible.
Right. And you'd be able to
the
enrich
images
the
are just
characters.
what comes out.
Because the characters end up being more about the genes and the traits and the rest, because the ideal is if we can get games that end up, or apps, right, that end up where unintended or unanticipated combinations could develop into a strategy that no one would have thought of before. And that's what we really want, something that feels more like real life, that you could totally, a game could be going for 3 years and somebody could come up with a new strategy by lining up different kinds of genes together in a party that would totally, that's what we want.
Yeah.
We want
And
something that would be,
that's kind of, to me, there's a bunch of cool things about this, right? But everybody has their own probably favorite thing about it. And my two favorite things are, one is the genome, is the way that it's derived from the transactions that it's created in, the way that it's derived from live blockchain events. And you get this really kind of complex result, right? This charm of making this dragon genome. And then the amazing art that is representing that, right? Because, like I said, it's kind of complex. And how do you represent that in a way that's meaningful? How do you visualize this? Well, we visualize it in the coolest fucking way possible, right?
yeah.
And that's what we see when these dragons hatch, is this visual representation of what this genome is. And so you're right about, like, it's not like right click save, oh, I've got it. It's not that's not the thing. Like, okay,
No.
cool, share it, show people. It's cool.
Those are the outputs.
Where did it come
of
from?
The power of the tool it's coming from.
Yeah. How did it get made? Where did it come from? What's its story? That's the cool thing. And it's a representation of that story.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. And I guess what we can do, I'll walk.
Somebody got a fire water dragon mix
right here.
There. That's a really cool mix.
Yeah, there's some interesting ones that I'm gonna be really watching. I need to make just a good old school bookmarks folder on my browser. I'll tell you, so I can like watch some of these and see how they pan out.
And we're gonna add. I think and Mickey had some stuff in there to have favorites, and we took it out temporarily just to get everything else done. But we're gonna have it set up so that you can kind of mark things you want to watch. But the elementals are kind of like the primary source of rarity, and essentially it comes from the spawn, so it's not a gene, but it's essentially, when you have your charm of making, it takes 2 bits to decide of 4 values what house it is, and then 2 bits to decide what the magic element is. And so it's guaranteed to be fire, earth, air, or water house, and fire, earth, air, or water magic. But the way that it's mapped, the way that I guess I take that back. It's not 2 bits for the magic. It's been a while since I've coded that up. But the magic element is restricted to a value. It's a byte. So it's a 0 to 255. And essentially, most of them are going to be whatever the house is, right? So I can't remember what the percentage is, but it's like 60-70%, something like that. Is maybe 75% of all the eggs are going to be like a water egg is going to have a water magic, and yet 10% will either be one side or the other in that wheel, where in this case, like say a fire egg, it would be air or earth, right? And those would be pretty rare, but there are only 10% of each of those. And then less than 5%, I think it's like 4.7%, are like this, which is fire
antipodal
with the opposites, right? And so super interesting.
And
if you
look, thing here is like what season they're born in now really is going to influence the outcome of how a game might interpret that.
Right. Well, because you have the 4 elements, and when it's an egg, it only has the 2. It has the house, and I guess it has 3, because it has the spawn season as Genesis right now, and the only element you can control is your spawn season. You could say, okay, I'm going to spawn it in fire or whatever else, but you can see that, and I guess they're right here. So we have, common would be 0 to 191, which is kind of a standard. The rare scout, which is on the early side, is enhanced exploration. The rare guardian is more protective and defensive because it's a higher value. Epic is what this one is, which is 244 to 254, and then if you have a 255, and we've seen those occasionally in testing, they're obviously very rare, but it's a legendary Titan Apex, it's pretty well super rare on the main elements. But then you go in and you have other rarity with the egg density, right? Where 375 is the most common, where half of all of them are going to be 375,000. And I'd have to pull up the code to tell you what the other. Here, I'm going to do that. In fact, just so I can lay out. Should I show the code? Should I not show the code? I don't know if I should show the code. Well, we will look. Is it package?
Maybe paste it into Chat GPT and have it break down the code for people.
Well, I can show this. This is just the config constants, right? I think I can show that. I might have to resize this window.
I don't know if it's interesting for most people, but you can probably show it.
Yeah.
A lot of people look at code and they're like, "Oh, what is that?"
So,
this is where I can nerd out. So I'm okay with this.
So you can see down here. Okay. The weights. So out of 1,000. Okay. So we're basically what we're doing is we're doing a modulus 1,000 operation. So we have 1,000 values. If you get the 1 out of 1,000 values, you're going to get a density of, didn't mean to do that, 10 million. Should be very rare, and we've not seen that in any of the real testing we've done. No, we've never seen one pop up like that. We have seen a 5 million. We have seen a 2.5 million. Today already, we've seen an egg that has 1 million, and I think 2 eggs that have 500,000. Which is very interesting, right? Most of them, though, are 375,000. And, it is, again, it's actually pretty rare to have 100,000. And we've not seen any of those yet, I don't think, unless one of the latest ones have happened. So anyway, it's pretty rare. And what matters is that there's an Ethereum block every, what is it? It's every 12, 17 seconds, something
roughly.
Like that. Okay. So I think that
depends on a round number to estimate from.
Yeah. Well, and what I've typically used is that there are about 7,100 blocks a day. And that's relative, especially more consistent now that it's not proof of work. But that essentially for every single Ethereum block that comes in, the system checks every incubating egg, and it's super interesting. All it does is it takes its the block hash and the charm making and I think the season as well. I can't remember, but it takes these values deterministically, hashes them together, and runs modulus whatever your egg density is. So it's essentially 1 out of 375,000 times that is going to hit 0. And if it hits the value 0, your egg is going to start hatching, right? And it's a super simple operation, very fast, but it's provably unpredictable. There's no way to tell which egg might hatch. And it's so crazy fun to watch.
That's one of those really nuanced, interesting things too, because it's really common to think of that as kind of an RNG, a random number generator,
right?
But it's not. It's way more interesting than that, right?
Yeah,
and it might feel similar, but it's distinctively different and new and novel.
Yeah.
And and I would
no one's
say
ever done
because
this, so
it carries in its packing, right, the entire conversation you can have about the randomness of block hashes on blockchains.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. And it's really, really interesting because it's a future thing. And then, and we'll describe this. Then when your egg starts to hatch, it gathers the prior 5 Ethereum blocks, the actual block of Ethereum that caused the hatch, and then it waits for the next 5 Ethereum blocks. And then it takes also the block that caused the hatch, and it uses it to determine 1 Bitcoin block within the past approximate 24 hours and 1 Bitcoin block that is going to happen in the approximate next 24 hours. And it could be it could be 3 hours from now, or it could be 22 hours from now. And it has to get all of these Ethereum blocks, and it has to get both of those Bitcoin blocks, at which point now the hatch is complete, and it can gather all those blocks, pull them all together, create a genome, and then send it off to be rendered, right? And it's a crazy thing. And it was, I mean, I'm still giddy that the artists, who are amazing, that they got it and said, yeah, we could do that. And we, and they found one guy, and I won't tell much until it's all revealed, right? But they found and added to the team one of their colleagues that was essentially a master at programmatic 3D model work. And so he was able to take the genome that I created from, in code from all of that, and take every single feature, the horns, the spines on the back of the dragon, the claws, the colors, 58 genes, right? And map it to these different values on the model. And it's so crazy that it works.
So each one is a one of one in that sense, because it has a phenotype that can't be replicated reliably, right?
Yep. And we did, the guys know this. This has been like a 3.5 year project, I think. And we did a lot of work on trying to not pigeonhole this for gaming, that, that it's very much open. The game could interpret various things different ways. A game could add things. Definitely. A game can even add genes to existing characters. And if you look at the white paper, there's a method that even makes that unpredictable, so that it would be impossible to cheat. The market.
Think of it like this: No Man's Sky blew everybody's mind in 2016 with the idea that we could have billions of universes, like trillions of universes, right?
That was their thing, right? Everything was procedural. Every grain, every sunset, every tree, every animal.
Yep.
But the power of what it allowed them to do, right, that nobody saw coming, was sell a game that was initially a disappointing studio release, right, while funding a team of like 4 or 5 guys who could make changes to the engine to improve it. And because of that, build a community where free updates come out so often that the meme is, stop giving away, Sean, we have money, right?
Yeah. We have money. You can start charging for this.
So much value.
You and I both have a love for that game.
Because of that.
Yeah, you and I both have a love for that game, and for
that
me,
game's capacity for uniqueness, just that's emergent, is dwarfed by this. Just dwarfed by it. It's absurd.
For me, it was a lot of that was flying around that universe, and I still do from time to time today, and knowing that I'm going to discover something that not even the devs know exists. Yeah, that was kind of like, there's this appeal where it's like, it's not like you're necessary, like, and that's a lot of that is inherent in what Drakaria is as well.
Yep. Oh, look, we can walk through and see who's used their keys and who hasn't. I hadn't even looked at this yet, so Jason has not used his key yet.
Yes, I'm awesome. Waiting for this the show awesome. To use it later.
There's me. Look, there is. That is me. All right. Let's see.
I used mine earlier. I couldn't wait.
Right. Mine is Earth. I'm excited.
Oh yeah, we can look here. Okay. Actually, we can look at the team page real quick.
I got a fire.
Up, so, yep, Earth, and let's see here. We will look. 375. See, it's 86. Okay, awesome. Very cool.
Yep. I think Mirror Vision got a really nice pull on his.
Oh, this one right here. Okay, let's look. Yeah, Air Water at 232 with a 250.
Wow, yeah.
It'll probably, See, the bet would be that this would hatch before these, right? That these at 375 should take longer, but we've definitely seen the last test we did. The one of the earliest hatches was a million density egg, right?
So it's almost like it's unpredictable, Joe.
It is. It's so amazing. It's so cool
Yet
seeing
deterministic
that,
at the same time.
Yep. Oh yeah, Bit by the Coin did this live, right? So fire, but 500,000 though. It's good.
The egg art is still stellar too, by the way. I mean, I know we reviewed that a long time ago, but
yeah,
it should give people a hint as to what their what they can expect the dragons to look like.
And we could talk about this real quick. So you can see this is and you know you can differentiate this is an air egg, and it is in with the fire setting. You know, so the magic is determining the setting. You know, so this is earth setting. This is, of course, fire setting, right? So that's interesting as well. And
the fire setting with the fire egg is different than the fire setting with the air egg.
And
or the earth,
maybe Mickey
water
can bring up that you can at a glance determine, like, is this the magic that is the border, or is it the house? Mickey.
We're not hearing you, Mickey.
Sorry, I can ask in a minute. We'll ask in a minute because I have to go back to the other screen anyway. So it'll be just give us some audio tests and we'll tell you when we can hear you. But you can see the difference, right? So, and this one's glowing a little more, and it has it has some color behind it.
Yeah, those are the ones that are not they're uncommon, at least, right? And they have different glowing patterns.
Right.
So at a glance, you can scroll through the community hub and see, like, oh, these are particularly interesting.
So Mickey, what is the border portraying first?
Yeah, so for the common cards, which are the ones that do not have like the multicolor border, that's going to be your magic element. It's going to be your color.
Okay. Cool. So the magic element is for the common cards is it is. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so for
the first two, that one that belongs to High Yield Maxi is a more like hollow foil type card, and he's got the multicolor that represents all elements.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay. Cool.
So you can see it kind of goes around as like blue and then red, and it kind of ends with Genesis on the end of the card.
Nice. Okay. Right. Okay. And I'm half.
And he got a Tempest, which is awesome.
Yeah, 252. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. So I mean, those are pretty rare, especially when we only have 26 out there. That's that's pretty cool. So
the 252 thing, like, I have it in my mind that I'm like, we probably won't see a 255, but then I'm gonna see one and I'll be like, oh shit, there is one.
Yep. And so I'll show you, like, you can search over here. You can look at oldest, and it's going to show you the keys. But you could filter those out. This is the highest to lowest magic, and we'll search here. So this is the 252 is that's the most rare one so far. Leary got a 242, right? As a guardian. This is the only one that is in the epic set that's in that 4% whatever. Jacob Wayne got a really rare one. Mirror Vision got a really rare one. So this is like it's 7 out of the first set so far.
There's our million density one right there. That one's pretty neat.
Jason might be in the lobby again.
I do that. What's that?
I think Jason might be in the lobby again. He had to rejoin.
There you are. Thanks. It's funny too, because I see him on the bottom. This interface is kind of, sorry about that, Jason. This is by highest density. So we have 1 million, 2 500,000. Bit by the Coin got a 500,000. She's going to be waiting for who knows how long to hatch. It's going to be awesome.
But that hatch, that extra hatch time is worth something. In the outcome, isn't it?
Yes. Because and we'll look at the white paper in a minute. But we added, it was just called stability to keep it kind of general. But the team convinced me for sure that it was like probably too general. That HP made more sense, especially if you have to, if you get a 10 million density dragon and you have to wait as long as you might have to wait
years, possibly.
The average for the 10 million is I believe 3.7 or 3.8 years would be the average time that it would take to hatch. And it might take more. And in the broader tests, when we we had mock-ups of everything, we had at least 2 of those that took over 10 years. One of them took 14 years to hatch, right? So it's like, I'm hopeful. I hope we see some of that. It's going to be so cool.
Yes.
Well, I mean, and it sets up like this really neat, sort of Khaleesi-esque mythos, right? Where maybe you're holding on to this dormant egg, and
it's dead.
Whoever had it last sold it to you, and then it hatches, and you've got this, this world ender when it comes to gaming.
People are going to think it's broke. Like, hey,
Yep.
my egg's not working.
Yeah, things never had. Yes, my egg's not working.
And then we do have the lowest density right now is 250, and there are 4 of them. The lowest that's on that is that there is, and here let me double check the code. It's 100,000, and that's pretty rare. It's only 50 out of 1,000 will be 100,000 density. But when we run through with the weightings on those different densities in testing with enough of a sample. So if you have a small sample, it's going to be high or low, and it's going to be kind of fun. But with enough of a sample, like say in the millions, it pretty much centers on about half of the eggs, a little bit more than half the eggs will hatch within a month, right? And that was kind of a good feel where you're gonna have a bunch of them hatch fast, and you're gonna have some of them that take maybe a couple of seasons to hatch, so they get different spawn and hatch seasons, and and there's gonna be a bunch of cool stuff with those elements that I know in games, and potentially even we've talked about in-game currency. So mining the in-game currency it'll be dependent upon what elements your dragons have, and what season it is, right? So if it's fire season, you're.
I love the idea of your dragon being your mining rig.
Well, I mean, and think about it like this too. Like if you have this spell of binding, suppose there is a later update that includes a timed spell of binding, and then all of a sudden you have the ability to test drive a dragon for a weekend if you can get someone to rent you one in exchange for casting the spell.
Yes, you don't hear those concepts there, and this totally depends upon the game maker and stuff, but some of the thought was that you have a dragon, and at some point we might have something where you can buy, and I don't know what the lore would be, but you can essentially a card of that dragon. You don't own the dragon, but you own a collectible card of that dragon, and those cards go up in price until they're kind of unobtainable. But with one of those cards, you could use the charm of making to call a dragon in for you in a pinch in a game. but the owner of the dragon could have the binding spell and lock it, right? He said, nope, you can't use it. But they might say, hey, buy more of my cards, I'll let you borrow my dragon, right?
We had a few iterations of that same concept. Joe, I remember one that is similar to that, but it was for an arena game whether you're fighting the dragons, and then your audience might be maybe on the team of one dragon or the other, right? So your card bearing audience or your fan base or your supporters might attend that arena, that fight. And then depending on, and then you have real crowd interaction, right? You have a crowd participation sport where depending on what kind of crowd you can draw and how they organize and what they collectively do with whatever power you give to that function, it could influence the weather, it could influence a certain element, and maybe that goes for or against your opponent, depending on plenty of things.
Energy,
and there's just so much you can do with that.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's like you could do all types of
house influence stuff. Like if more of your audience is with your house, like Dave, like your Firehouse fans show up, they're going to give you and your dragon more power.
Yep.
Exactly, that kind of thing. Yep.
So cool. Man.
Well, that makes a lot of sense too in like those battle arena games where there's the dynamic that some extraneous event pushes you to the center, right? Maybe that element that's pushing you changes.
this is gonna
based
be so
on
fun.
who's winning.
and just so you know too, this first season, it's all free. We did this kind of it's almost like a what would you call it? Beta. It's not quite beta, but it would be, maybe it's something where we weren't sure how smooth it would be, and everybody's in free, so it's a little bit less anxiety rolling
You've
this
got
out.
to kick the tires in production, right?
or something.
Yeah. And so it's simple. Next season is Earth season, and after that it's going to be cycles. So it's Earth, water, air, fire, repeated every 4 seasons is an age. That the age and the season all come into the naming of the dragons, and later the other characters. That these seasons will have impact on elves and unicorns and whatever else we make, and it's gonna be fun. But we know that, and if you look at the white paper, there's an algorithm that says, the very first season, I can't remember, are we doing 50 or 100? Because I think we need to double check the spawn page, because I think it says 50, but I thought we had decided we were doing 100 for Earth.
I was thinking 100.
Yeah,
I think
so we
there
need
was
to
a
check
DAO
that.
vote on 100. It was a
Yes,
very
okay.
recent DAO vote, so it may not have made it to the display.
That makes sense.
The,
so
Yeah,
we
because
need
if
to
you go
double check that.
The home page, how many members do we have on the community right now?
Let me look.
Which is another cool thing, is that anybody keeps track on how we're growing.
Yep.
It's right
164.
there.
Yep, 164,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
So we need 100 eggs. So
Yeah.
Earth season is going to have 100 eggs. I think they're going to be $25, and you can. I don't know if the Web3 payments will be rolled out yet. Hopefully they will be. I'm pretty sure they will, but equivalent of $25. And there's an algorithm though where the supply side can expand and contract, wherein we're saying that if we sell out of all 100 eggs, then the supply the next season is a 5x. So you're going to have 500 eggs available, right? And maybe we don't sell out 500 eggs because everybody's paying attention to Grok or something. And so it'll shrink the supply the next day, right? Or the next season, sorry. And similarly, the fee is worked in where it's a proportional increase based upon the percentage of the supply that is spawned in the last season. And it's set so that the maximum amount right now per all the vote is 10% increase. I will tell you, when we were in early testing, all of the design was set out to do a 5x increase in fee, which would be great, but in testing we realized it went up way too fast, and what it did is it limited the number of dragons so much that you would never see all the variety, which would have been a tragedy. So it's a 10% max increase, but the fee will never go down on these. So it's an interesting thing, and we know that at some point, when the outside world realizes, oh, you can buy a dragon that has a real genome that's totally unique, a lot of people will be interested, and that market could be huge. And we know that if at that time there's only 200 available or something, or maybe it's even an off season, it's not even spawn cycle time, that we need a marketplace. And so we're going to have a native marketplace built in. You'll be able to come in. When it rolls out, it'll probably be very simple, very straightforward. But, we know that we at least want to have direct priced sales. Like I could set a price and somebody could come and buy that dragon. They could also we do want to do some manner of auction. But I also want to do something where it would be a criteria-based trade. That, look, I can just put up let's say I put up my Earth dragon because I have too many Earth eggs, and as long as you give me an egg that is, with whatever criteria I specify, then I would accept it as a trade, and it would be kind of a cool, real quick thing that somebody could just come in and grab. Fun stuff like that. I just think it would be amazing. Talked about having and in a game currency, which at least would be native in Drakaria. We're going to call it drachma. It's essentially gold. We also have a mechanism to do with Drakaria credits, which would be dollars. So there'll be a very interesting mechanism that you could have a good deal to trade your dollars for drachma, and yet the drachma might not be exitable. We don't know yet. There's a bunch of stuff we have to look at, but essentially that in-game currency. So if you're mining it with your dragon, you could use it to offset the price of spawning a new dragon or buying other items.
Well, and there's other things you can do with those sorts of things like spell writing, for example.
Right. Breeding services.
If you come up with breeding services.
Yep.
Maybe even informational services like graph and community growth and that sort of thing.
Yep.
Become a thing that people are interested in when it comes to. I mean, like people get into the weird stuff if you think about the world of horse racing, right?
Right.
When it comes to breeding those things and lineage, or if you think about, as silly as it sounds, dog shows, right? Show dogs are bred in a similar way.
Yep.
There's so much depth here to explore with the currency that it makes sense to not have a lot of those questions super hard answered yet, because so much of it's going to be on what evolves.
Yep. Yep.
I still think when you trade your dragon, you need to add some kind of description on, how that dragon treated you, if it got into the cat food too much, just create whatever story that you want about your dragon just to start that story. And then it would be kind of like, when you go on and read crazy reviews on Amazon, about sugar-free gummy bears. You go on there to read the reviews, not the actual product.
Yep. We do have...
Are you thinking about... You were talking about the Sour Patch Kids ropes right there, I have a feeling.
Yeah.
Go find that review and read it. That one's awesome.
We do have a built-in display name that we still have to figure out the rules on, but essentially it will let you create a given name for your dragon if you want to name it, but it's going to be something that there are economics around it, that once you name it, it'll cost more to rename it, and then even more to rename it again, that type of thing. So that a lot of dragons might not be named until someone says, no, I'm never selling this, I'm going to name it, right? That type of thing. Right. So
I think
it'll be a good feel.
Also going to base it off of the temperament of the dragon. If it was an extreme temperament, then it's not going to let you name it for maybe a long time. You got to earn grace with that dragon.
Yes, something like that would be amazing.
Well, and maybe that comes from the story, right? You can easily see how someone might set up a chatbot interface that just receives machine data from other games that integrates story back into some kind of personality export.
We don't know yet what we want to do. I'm somewhat thinking that we will want to just integrate some of the components of Den into where you could actually comment on other people's dragons, or from a conversation under a dragon, because there's a bunch of cool stuff there, and we're already the DAO is entirely hosted on Den, and the only reason it isn't public is because we weren't thinking about it, and we have a lot of the test dragon images in some of the content there. So we're not going to open that layer up until after the first dragon hatches. And then, we are expecting, I don't know how long it'll take to get it implemented, but we are expecting to have a set where part of the DAO vote, one of the votes of the DAO vote, will be the hatched dragons. So if you have a hatched primal dragon or any primal character, if there are other primal characters later, it'll make up one vote in the DAO, right? So I don't know, it's gonna be pretty intense. It's gonna be pretty fun. So
were we gonna leave the test dragons, or are we gonna clean that up?
Since we aren't gonna,
did we go through? It's like 7 or 8.
I think it'd be worth it to leave them, because some of the early ones are so different than the later ones. It'll be cool for people to see them, because the early ones, we went with a color model that wasn't balanced in the end, and everything ended up looking like a little too cartoonish. The colors.
You're talking about the Laffy Taffy dragons, like the ones in the beginning that became a little bit. They were a little bit too Crayola.
Yeah, and so we went back to the drawing board. Mapped out a model, and then we even, man, there's some crazy conversation in some of the history too, where we even put together. I wasn't sure if it'd work for quite a while, but where the sex of the dragon even changes some aspects of where the colors mapped. It's crazy, and it's
what would be kind of funny is we could make a meme from that. You know, the 3-headed dragon meme where there's like 2 derpy ones and then an awesome one in the middle.
Yeah,
we could have like the early iterations and then the current one in the middle.
Yes.
Well, one of the first questions that we asked the animators is, are we going to have that problem with the fingers? What was it?
The scythe hands. I remember those.
Yeah, scythe hands.
Yeah,
scythe hands. And they were like,
yes,
absolutely
I forgot about
not. That's not possible what we do.
What was that project?
I'm not going to name the product. I know what it was, but I'm not going to name it.
I think it was because they had modeled it so that it could hold something, and that was just a base model. So if it wasn't holding something, it was just
but it ended up being huge, and it looked it looked wild.
Like a Lego hand, right? But
kind of.
It's actually really hard to find a good generative model for dragons. It's not easy. For some reason, the types of sort of dragon anatomy shapes that you need to get, that you have to decide
there is one
on.
now.
It doesn't stay consistent.
Yeah, there is one now right here.
Well, and I would say anybody, if the white paper is too deep, go to the news page here and start with the first scroll and just work your way backwards up here, because it covers pretty well and it's pretty light. It's, it's like, it's not high tech at all. It's very friendly to, someone who doesn't want to know all the details, yet tries to pull out the actual meaning, or why it does this, or some of the neat stuff. So there's a bunch in those. I mean, we might have.
Well, it gives you a frame to understand the white paper more deeply. If you want to get into the white paper and start picking it apart, it's a really good place to start. If you're starting from scratch.
Yeah. It's we spent a lot of time on it, so don't feel like you're missing something if you don't get it all at once, because it's like
and you can also
start now.
Talk to AI about it too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. You put it into AI, it'll explain stuff. Lucius actually understands quite a bit about it. I've gone back and forth with him quite a bit. So it's pretty impressive what he wrote all these. Like we didn't write these, he wrote all of these. I edited some of the lines out. I kept the big M dashes in, it's all him. But he wrote it all. We did that on purpose.
M dashes from my cold dead fingers, damn it.
That first article that's in there is a community member. I don't know if they know yet that we published it again.
Yes. Yeah, because this this right here.
Yeah.
It was good. Dayrox.
Dayrox. Back in 2024 when
2024. So it's like over a year ago, right? It's after we published the eggs. There's, there are, by the way, 4 different golden eggs. So, and it should be mentioned that as long as at least 2 eggs are spawned in a season, one and only one egg will be chosen as a golden egg by the blockchain. So again, it's totally unpredictable. And that golden egg will give you an image, a special image in your dragon. So, and by the way, we should explain that too, that when you have an egg, when it hatches into a dragon, it's not a separate asset. It's the same thing. It just has another picture. So, and it has all the other, the genome and all the other data, and it's all in one place. And you can't yet, but you will be able to get either by winning them or by buying them new rendered poses. And you're at least going to get the 4 that we have, potentially in other scenes, and you're going to be able to we are going to have other poses produced. We'll hopefully have some video sequences where you can see your dragon flying, maybe see it spinning around, maybe breathing fire, all types of stuff like that. So that'll be cool. But when you get this golden egg, the golden egg image will be an extra image in your asset, and you can get a golden image or a golden egg even if the dragon has not hatched, so it doesn't matter. So you might have your regular egg and your golden egg, or you might have your regular egg, your dragon, and your golden egg, and then whatever other poses. But then when you get this, you will also be given a special gateway key that I don't know if we have a picture of that anywhere, Mickey, but
I wouldn't show it yet.
Okay, it'll be
because it happens at the end of the season anyway.
Yeah, it happens at the very end of the season, and you get the special key, and that key will get you a new spawn next season, right, for free. So it's going to be amazing.
And the cool thing about that being picked by the blockchain, again, not to just like keep beating that, but it's important because none of us can possibly cheat and just select it for whoever we want. It's the whole provably fair concept at every step.
Yep.
Yeah. That was the basis to a lot of what we did. We didn't want to be involved on cheating or picking out all the rare cards just for the team. Like, no, it's a lottery. We have no idea what we're going to get.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and you also end up with this sort of defense against later situations where like Disney wants to get involved, or like Frito-Lay, right? So you don't end up with like Pepsi-Saurus Dragon type of situation going on where people are bidding these up because they're brand advertising assets, right?
Well, the crazy thing we do have for the golden egg, it's totally intended to be a sponsored thing, right? And the reason is one of the partners asked for it early on, and we were like, oh, we could do something. So we worked through that's how the golden egg came up. That essentially, it might take a few seasons before we get into our groove with this, but essentially someone would come in and say, hey, I want to sponsor it, and I want to put my logo on the gateway key. So it's only on the gateway key, but that gateway key might be super rare, right? Or because if nobody buys the gateway keys, because the intent also is that you can come in and buy a gateway key for the same price as a spawn fee, and you could then give that to your nephews for Christmas, that type of thing, right? Or your friends who like dragons, and that those gateway keys,
or you just hoard them,
might be branded, or just hoard them. They might be branded, and when they are, you can use them. And even when you use your gateway key, as people can see, you don't lose the gateway key. It's still there. It will be tradable. It's just that it's used. You can't use it to spawn another dragon, but you have your Genesis gateway key forever. So that alone is kind of cool. And I don't know if we're going to have any unused gateway keys. I was wondering if anybody's not spawned.
Did Leary already use all of hers? I know she had the
most.
Know.
I don't know if she
did all of them. At least most of them. There might be. Let me check.
So it'll be
if I had
fun.
any more, I'd have probably used them all already. I wouldn't be able to resist.
Yeah, I think it'd be too hard. I don't know if I'd be able to. If I had 4, I don't know if I'd be able to hold one. I'm like, that's kind of crazy.
Well, it'd be a bummer if you held on to it for like a year and then got something with 1 million or greater density. It would just be too long to wait.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. Who knows what these will be. If they'll be wanted or not. But either way, it's the intent was that sponsorship wouldn't just be decided by us. It's going to go to a community vote where it's going to be said, oh, somebody wants to give away a car or somebody wants to give away a gaming machine, and they'll put this on it or that on it on the logo, and the community can decide, and whoever wins the golden egg still gets the golden key for the spawn, but they're also going to win the car, right?
Right.
And
well, that's not again to harp on the blockchain aspect of this too much, right? But because that key is sponsored, it's a tasteful way to allow for sponsorship, which a lot of gaming studios are built on, and for this to be a tool for people to build those kinds of economies for themselves, like so they can maintain a game, right? That needs to be in there, but at the same time, you don't want it to be, the plot of Ready Player One, where the guy wants to monetize so much of it at the point where you pass out that it spoils the game. And this puts it at a nice gate, I think, because it's on chain, so you can still reference back to it, and you can still keep rewarding those customers, and you can make it part of your thing as a sponsor to really integrate with it. But
it's a pretty clean way of doing it.
Taking it over. Yeah.
Yep.
And I can't confirm this, but I do think that Leary still has one. I think they refrained from using.
Leary had 4. I told her I haven't opened my egg yet, and she offered me earlier. I was like, no.
So Leary had 4. Okay, then they used all of them. I thought they had 5, but no, they used that was the one that had the mostest.
Wow. Onion Lord is the only one that's got multiple that could probably hold one back that I see. Everybody else, it looks like, just has one.
Yep. We're probably not going to have any unused gateway keys.
That's all right.
Hard not to do.
It'll be awesome. That'll be awesome. So cool.
The dragons are cooler anyway, if we're being honest. So
true, and it's going to be so hard to get a Genesis dragon after this too. So, okay. So should we go look at the white paper, or should we spawn? I could spawn my egg. I don't know who else was going to spawn one.
Let's, we've been here for a minute. Let's get some. I think we got 2 of them we want to spawn. Yours and Jason's, right? So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and do one of them.
Okay, we do mine because I'm already here. Is that all right? And then you can take the time to share it, or unless you want to do it first, I'm cool. Either way, doesn't matter to me. I've been wanting to spawn all day. Like
I bet, yeah.
Wait, and I'm kind of anxious about this because. I'm actually
very
worried I'm going to get like something I don't want, So after 3.5 years, I was like, we'll see what I get. All right. The number 26 key. All right. And by the way, Mickey, you can filter based on these, right?
Yep.
Later. Okay. So later,
you don't really need to do a quick pick because it's only one right now, but
oh yeah, you can though. You could
just so people know.
Quick pick. Yep. That button there. If you're buying 10 at once.
Once we get really into this and there's a bunch of stuff to fumble with, you can hit the quick pick button.
All right. Are you guys ready?
Let's go.
Are you ready?
Do it.
No, I'm not ready. But all right, here we go. Here we go. It is processing. So I think it's waiting for the block. It's doing all the normal stuff it would do, but it's very fast. It's native. Dragon chain blockchain. We got the package here. I can see the reflection.
This is a great addition here.
I think it's better luck if you wait until the particles
wait till the bubbles come up.
Up into the card, and before they're past it though, and then you click reveal. We'll see. Okay, I got air. I cannot complain about the air. 250,000, not bad.
All right.
43 low common, that's good. I mean, it's it's not rare. It's not rare. There's not a rare egg, but it's awesome. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Back to spawn. All right, I view my collection. So now you can see I still have my key, but now it is unhappily used. No way around that. But I now have my egg, right? And you can see
you can't save and reload and try it again.
No. And you can see
saves going.
The runes. We didn't maybe mention that. I can't remember. So it's air, and then this is the spawn season. And when you get the dragons, there's going to be a 4th one that shows the hatch season. So I'm kind of rooting. I'm hoping I can get 2 Genesis elements on this one. It's just I don't know. Who knows if it'll happen. We didn't talk about magic points either.
Well, somebody in the community asked what sealed was, and I think before they even got an answer, it switched from sealed to incubating. So sealed is a 10-minute timer, right?
Yes. And this one's still sealed. Mine is still sealed. So, yep. And
10 minutes and it'll switch over.
It's funny, and we'll tell you why that exists. That when we were first starting it, we did not have the notion that this was going to be a cyclical thing. It was just going to be, we were going to have one of each of the 4 seasons, and that was going to be it. And we were going to have like 1,588 of, I think that's the right number, of each type of dragon, and that was going to be totally it. But we decided instead, let's use the blockchain to determine what kind of dragon it is, and then just keep a cycle going because, unlike the NFT world, we weren't worried about, we have to sell them out or not. It's just, it's whatever happens, and the algorithm can kind of take care of stuff. And during that time, we had a 10-day guaranteed spawn cycle, but after the 10 days, the blockchain could actually shut it off at any point. So you had variable lengths seasons, which was kind of a neat concept. But when we thought about it, it makes better sense to have it very consistent so people know when it's happening. They don't have to, check in. And we had the sealed concept was originally called frozen. And essentially it would keep your egg frozen for those first 10 days so that you couldn't hatch at all while other people were spawning eggs until after that spawn cycle, 10 days, then okay, now you can incubate and maybe hatch. And when we got into looking at it, it's like, we don't really need it anymore, but it was already built into the code. And so we put the 10 minutes because there is a 10-minute lock when you first are in your checkout in the spawn page. So, all right. Do we have your screen, Jason? Do you want to get that?
Let me get that going.
Share it up and we'll do that. Oh, and we'll look here. So mine is, let's see here. I'm like, see, now I do have asset number 69. So I think I could probably sell it to Musk.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Right?
There you go.
I think I could do that. I don't know who got 42. We need to see if we got 42. But either way,
that got me wondering, what the hell do I have?
It's the newest one. Oh, look, Crow Girl. I think that's a new one, right? That wasn't there before. 375 air. We got
nice.
Cryptophile. We got high. Oh, this one was there before. Yeah, this one's a nice rare one. That's why I need to just save up a bunch of cash.
Oh yeah, Crow Girl's recent.
Buying season, and then just buy up a bunch so I can get some rare ones. That's what I need to do.
Yeah, that's already my game plan, man. You have to set up a Telegram.
Oh, we're all going to be fighting over it. That's great. I was thinking about this earlier. Whenever I spawned mine, I got a fire, common, native, nothing necessarily like foil or special about it, but not that it was any less exciting, but I wanted to like see if I could get another one. Just that urge of like, let me just do one more. Let me just do one more. And I was like, you know what? That's a good sign. That's a good sign, because if I want to do that, and I heard a couple of you say the same thing. I was like, all right, let me try a couple more. And especially in these first few seasons, they're the cheapest, right? So that's when I think everyone's going to be trying to get after it.
I got spoiled because we were in testing. I was like, okay, I'll just generate a bunch more keys, and we'll roll out. We were doing 250 keys at a time, just to kind of get enough in there to test the renderer, to test how fast it renders and what's the machine load look like and everything else. Joe
had a good luck streak one time when we were doing the testing. I did like 200. He did 200. It seemed like every single one of mine were common, like nothing really. And he was like, oh, got another one. Got another. Oh, there's a million density. Oh, there's 2.5 million density. Oh, I got a 5 million. I'm like, I haven't seen a million at all. I can't get anything.
It's so crazy.
Remember when the very first test run that we did on development, Mirror Vision came in and immediately broke it. It was like, yeah, I just put in that I wanted 37 and I got them, guys. What is this?
I was like, what?
Like, oh wait, that's not right.
That's why we test. It was a good. Hey, he's a great tester.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just tried sharing my screen, Joe.
Okay, I got it. Here it is. Here. Oh, and you can see here that there is a day mode and a night mode, a light and a dark.
Am I in light or dark mode right now?
I think you're in light mode.
Oh,
there's that sunlight coming in.
Hey, Jason, come here. Commit something for me. Come here.
Here we go.
Right.
Special guest.
Man, come here. Special guest. Let's go.
Here we go.
Let's go.
This is the luck.
Influence the quantum dice roll.
You have to wait. You have to wait. Hang on one second.
Jason's bringing in his loaded dice here.
I know this guy has
Good luck charm right here.
so many grails. Oh, let's do it. Let's go. Let's go. Here we go. Apply selection, and then it's like opening your Pokemon cards.
Right on.
Here, we're gonna redeem it. You gotta wait 1 second. Look, and then you're gonna, and it's gonna open. Okay.
I'm like nervous watching.
Here we go.
Here
Here's the
comes.
reveal
Yeah,
button. All right, here we go. Here comes the epic.
This is a pack.
Are you ready? It's a pack. Yeah, that's right.
It is a pack.
Oh no! What did you do?
Oh,
Oh, it skipped the reveal.
Skip the reveal.
Nice.
it's in there. Go to my collection.
This is in my collection now.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. There you go. You got
Now click happy.
Water. Woo!
Oh, look at that egg density.
100,000 density.
Yeah.
Oh,
look at that
that's
egg
the first
density.
100,000. There you go.
Woo!
There we go. We got one.
That's the
First rare. Density.
That's rare.
That is awesome. Here, I'll pull it up. You can see it in. We can see it here. And okay, how many we have now? We have 26 incubating, 2 sealed, but we can look at. Oh, here it is. No, lowest to
Just look at
highest.
the latest.
This is it.
It was
Lowest
the
to
most
highest.
recent one anyway.
See that? That's the lowest
There we go.
one.
Yeah.
That is
Cool.
And 111, the common. It's like some type of
Good luck.
numerology thing. Yeah.
Probability,
Yeah.
it might be the
All right.
fastest.
Oh,
yeah.
I missed
spawn,
the asset
or not
ID
spawn, hatch.
69 by 1.
Yeah, Joe got that one.
Yep. Yep. Didn't intend to, but I did.
Well, yeah. How are we gonna time 420 next as the next one coming? We have to like watch them getting minted and try to just time it right.
Yep.
We could
And these assets all
eventually
of
we
them
could
are
get a
on the
reservoir
same-
computer running on that. That might work.
All
And
of
then
them
we'll
are
have
on
to
the
get
same.
lead.
So it's it is like even the if you look at the keys, they all have the it's a serial ID, and let me see here. I think maybe with the keys. Oh, there's asset ID 2. I don't know what asset ID 1 would be, but anyway. Oh, there it is. So I don't know how asset ID. It probably is because they probably came in at the same time. I don't know. Asset ID 1 is actually not as old as asset ID 2. That's just a normal thing anyway. Anyway, crazy stuff.
So go next.
Yes. Are you ready?
Let me see if I can pick the right.
I could be
screen.
playing music, you guys. I forgot about that. I could put it on
Oh,
really
yeah.
low. Let's see here.
Do you have just a drum roll?
I meant to get one. I forgot to get one.
All right.
It's awesome. Jason posting all the all of these were built from the articles from Lucius, right? All of these.
Yes, every single song is directly from Lucius. He's a writer for it, the ghostwriters.
Cool. So funny. All right, here we go. All right. He's done this a lot of times, so I think he could have
Way
his eyes
too many
closed.
times.
Here we go.
Come on. Okay. All right. Wait for the bubbles to get to the top, right?
I think so. And are those bubbles? That's the other question. Is it ash? Is it stuff? Is it like stuff? I don't know.
They look sentient. They're moving left and right.
They do. They actually
they
really
do.
do.
All right. They
Kinda
got
looks
to the
like
top.
one of
Dragon
those,
souls. They're dragon
those
souls
Eli
that you
Sims.
pull it from the ether to populate
yes.
your.
Yes.
There's dragon seeds for your egg.
Fire. Just join the fire
All right.
clan.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, we got to start our guild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Fire combo is growing too fast.
Well, we
Yeah,
got
it is.
the
Yeah.
details.
It's like the makings of an evil empire to me.
250? Is it 250?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right on. And there, it does matter too. The type of dragon will actually affect the size of the dragon depending upon the what is it? Is it? I'll get them wrong. Do you remember, Mickey?
What? Sorry, what I missed? I was looking at my egg.
Air and earth dragons that are male will tend to be smaller, I think it is, and water and air and fire males will be smaller, and water water earth males will be larger, and vice versa for the females.
Right.
And we did that because when we go to breeding, if you wanted to try to breed a lap dragon or something that's like mountainous, you would have to consider what the sex, the pairing, and the type of dragons you're pairing together. It's so crazy. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I definitely I'm starting now to collect genes for my dragon chocobo farm, where I'm going to be doing extensive genetics research and breeding.
I'm going to call. Actually, I'm starting a foundation. You want to get in on my foundation? We're going to call it the
can we make it a nonprofit so people can give money to us?
The Institute for the Study of Dragon Multiomics.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go. I love it. Okay.
The Institute.
What else? I could go. We could look at the white paper real quick. I have it here.
There was a pretty recent finalization of that, right?
Yes, and that's why we don't have to. We don't have to walk through the entire thing, but it would be good.
Hit the changes cover for sure.
Some of the changes. So some of the formatting change, not a big deal, but some of the vision changed a little
more stately
bit.
Now
added a couple of little fine-tuned things about it. I'm trying to remember. There was something in here that changed. Sorry, but essentially. Not too much there. The important stuff is down here, like say the season length. The cycle's 14 days. The season length's 28 days. Let's see here. This still holds true. The 42 keys to the community, and then the team all has their keys. Let's see here. We changed this, that the 1.1x, it's a 10% increase in the spawn fee. The season supply didn't change. The minimum did change to 100. It should be 100. So I think it's the estimator maybe that isn't pulling it from the right place, but in the spawn page. And by the way, I'll show you this real quick. This will show you what next season's spawn fee and supply will be based upon the current spawn. Now, in this case, the first one's fixed, and that's not correct. I have to change something on the estimator code, but just so you know that it's something to keep track of. So when you're buying, you're like, okay, I'm gonna get it now before it goes up, whatever. And 100, which this is so hard to balance and figure out what we wanted to do, because the more they're there, the better it is if you get into a slow season followed by attention. If we for some reason get attention, we want people to be able to get some eggs, but at the same time, if it's too big, like we made it 1,000 minimum, that would mean it would be very hard for the fee to ever go up or for the supply to ever go up, because it's proportional based upon the percentage of that sold. So
right, and that will paradoxically drive rarity price spikes that would take secondary market eggs and dragons out of sort of reach for regular people.
Yep. The calendar is worth noting. Like you can have an egg or a dragon that was spawned in a fire season of the 5th age of Drakaria, right? That's why it's like that. So it's a very organic feel. We talk about the golden egg. That didn't change. That's been there for a while. We talk about how the sponsorship proposal and selection works, which I already talked about. The golden egg will essentially give you a free spawn in a future season. And that all still stands. Gateway keys, which we aren't sure how we're going to do it yet. We might we might make the first 4 seasons of Gateway Keys extremely limited just for fun. We don't know yet. And we have to figure that stuff out. But you should be able to buy some next season to give us gifts, right? So we'll see how that works. You can see how the color model works here. That if you have a water dragon, when it hatches, one of the genes is essentially going to give you a number that will give you something on this wheel, but that if it's a water dragon, it's going to be somewhere from here to here. Okay, it's going to be I guess this right here, this what do I want to say, this band of color from kind of this magenta to this cyan, with the center being blue, right? And your gene will affect the hue that way. And there's one gene that's one byte that selects the hue. There's one gene that selects the saturation, so how colorful it is. It could be all the way from gray. Even though you got a pure blue that you wanted, it can still be gray. And then also there's a third gene for the lightness. So it's just an HSL color model, very simple, but it's a beautiful thing because it's centered on, this is your water dragon, your fire dragons will be here, and your earth dragons here. And there are four colors for every dragon that are used. The first is the primary, which is kind of just generally what's on the whole dragon. There's a companion color, which if you have a water dragon is either going to be this in this range or in this range. There's a one gene that selects which of those two gets used. Then another gene that selects the hue, and then the saturation and the lightness. Same thing. Then there's a third color that is the pattern color, and you'll have to read the description in the white paper here. We'll go to there to show you that in a minute. When it down below it describes it, but the pattern color sets the color of the pattern on the dragon, and the pattern is dictated by the house. So fire dragons have a particular pattern, air dragons have a particular pattern, and then if you go into the genes, you can see that the pattern might not show up on certain parts of the body. And for every part of the body, even if the switch is on, it has another gene that affects how heavy the pattern will be shown. So you could have patterns that are light colored or dark colored over the top of these other two colors. And then there's an eye color, and the eye color is set by the house, right? So crazy stuff. There's so much on this that's just it's amazing. And I guess it should go, something important is that your house color affects the primal color, and your magic element can dictate the companion color. Is that right? I'll have to look down below. It's been so long since I've gone in here, and I'm tired. But either way, you can see how they are laid out. And air is weird because air is essentially going to be white or gray or black, but it's the only one that can select for a companion color across the full spectrum, right? I guess it can have yellow, pink, or cyan. And so the airs have some special type of colorings that you might not expect. And anyway, okay. Then we go in. Okay, we talked about genetics and hatching. Here it actually shows you Charm making is the transaction hash plus the block hash plus the serial ID. And we do a SHA 256 hash with them, and that gives you the Charm making. It used to be called spawn hash in the first versions of the white paper, which was kind of a jarring non-lore thing, right? It's like spawn hash. What?
Right.
So anyway,
magic actually makes a whole lot of sense as a metaphor to draw for when you engage in cryptography.
Yep. Here we get, and this is very new. So Charm making spell, base representation. So that Charm making itself is a hash, like we showed you before. It's just a really big number, like a block hash even. So this number is going to be represented on the system. It'll actually have it there at the bottom as a charm making spell, lore focused but readable and deterministic version of the charm making. And this is an example. This is a real one from one of the test eggs. So this is a water and an air egg, and essentially we have these words or phonemes, sounded words that are intended. There's a set of 256 for each element, okay? And the ones, of course, for water sound kind of like a water sounding spell. The ones for air kind of sound like air. And, it's pretty obvious. And I added in, it didn't look magical enough, so I added in these separators that you can see. I don't know if they're big enough in this. I can't really zoom in very well with it. But essentially, maybe I can do this, zoom in. That, this is water, air, and there's a dash in the middle, so you can see that, Vianel, Theraris, RL, Elise. It's just supposed to sound like a spell. You could read it out, right? And, you can look, Siren, Elor, Fel, and even the separators are deterministic, but it can read it without the separators. So if for some reason you were on a system where one of these weird Unicode separators couldn't be printed or something, it would still be able to reverse the charm making back into the original number equivalent, right? So anyway,
I want this on the back of my t-shirt.
Pretty cool. Exact. And this, we're going to have a merch. If you look on the site, there is a merch site coming soon. We're working
a scroll
on getting
with your spell on it. That's nice.
Yes. Yeah, you'd have your scroll. You'd also be able to get your dragon on a shirt with the charm making spell. You'd be able to get, the runes on it, whatever we'd be able to have all variations. So it'd be really cool. Primal Dragon House. This shows how the Primal Dragon House is the rightmost 2 bits, least significant bits, if you know what that means, determined, because 0-1 would mean that it's a water dragon, 0-0 an earth dragon, 1-0 an air dragon, and 1-1 a fire dragon. So those are all the combinations. It's a beautiful little system that way. And the magic element is determined this way. We take the second least significant byte, which has a value from 0 to 255, and this determines 75% are going to be of the same house of whatever your house element is. The next set, 10.16%, will be the adjacent house, and another 10% for the other adjacent house on the opposite side of that wheel, and then 4.69% will be the opposite house. So very rare to get, an air with an earth or an earth with an air.
And those are the rolls as well. Yeah. That's what's mapped to the rolls.
Yes.
So clockwise is going to be your scout. Clockwise going out. Counterclockwise is going to be your guardian. That's going to stay back, same house as native. Opposite is going to be your chaotic type tempest is how we're putting it. And if you are completely at the 255, you are a titan.
Yes. So that's just amazing. It's going to be so fun to see that when it happens. This is how it determines egg density. We have a table here, and it basically takes this egg density selector and does charm making modulus 1000. So you get a value of 0 to 999, and you can go 0 to 49. 5% of them are going to have this 100,000. So that one, who got the 100,000? Was that Jason? So that's 5%. Yeah. 20% get the 250, 50% get the 375, 20. So, and when you get up to here, the million is 2.5%. So we got one of those already. We haven't seen this one yet, 1.4 or the 1%, but then the 10 million is 0.1. So it's percent. It's crazy. So I don't know. We probably are not going to see one this season, but who knows? You could see anything.
The community, I never saw it when we actually test it with a blockchain to create it. So I never saw it.
Yep. We haven't ever seen that in real.
Yeah, we tried.
Real testing. So, yep.
We'll be a real event when it happens.
This is how the hatches start. The charm making plus whatever that Ethereum block hash that comes in. We take it, we combine it with your Charm Making, run the SHA 256, and then do modulus whatever your density is. And if it's 0, the hatch starts, right? So we might be waiting a week before any of these hatch, which I'm kind of
but any one of them could also hatch while we're sitting here.
Yeah, they could hatch right,
Yeah,
right
we
now,
haven't looked
so.
in a minute, that could happen. That could have already happened. Who knows?
Yep. And then when it completes,
go hit refresh, everyone. Right.
This is what I talked about
I know you
earlier,
had me thinking about it.
that we determine the last. I think it's here. Is it down below? No. The last Bitcoin block hash, or the past block, is determined by this formula, where we add 6, so we're keeping it an hour in the past and up to a day further, and the same for the future. So we're doing that so that it couldn't just happen in the very next Bitcoin block. It has to at least be about an hour out in the future and about an hour ago in the past. So we take that, then we take the Charm Making plus the past Bitcoin block hash plus the 54321 past Ethereum blocks plus the hatch block hash plus the next 5 Ethereum blocks plus the future Bitcoin block hash. We run it through the hashing algorithm, and that is your raw genome. And the raw genome is probably going to be combined with the Charm Making to make a binding spell as well. That's not documented here yet, but and from that, we then also generate a house name, which the hatch name is based on the raw genome. We take the raw genome, we break it up into 4 equal parts. Each of them is 8 blocks because it's a 32 byte. 8 bytes each. It's a 32 byte number, and the first one is named using the house names, the elementals of whatever your house name is. So if it's a fire dragon, then you're going to get a fire name for the first name. If you have a water magic element, it's going to get a water name. And then the spawn seasons, like the spawn season for all of these, is going to get an origin name, which is never going to be available again. And there are, I think there are 59 or 58 of those or something like that. So really crazy cool stuff. Oh wait, there are 52 names in the Genesis season. So some of them might get the same name in the Genesis season, and some of the Genesis names might not be used, right? So, and you can see the names are kind of like this, where it's, in this example, it was Kemen Lago Ko Komiki Soma Fiamma. And I think this is
the 12th.
This is Cherokee, maybe? The 12th. And the 12th is the age, right? So the cool. Roman numeral at the end is the age. And, the longer is, Primal Dragon at the House of Earth, Spawned in the Air season to the 12th age, right? So it's like this really...
So that's the shorthand for that that formalism.
Yes. And there are a couple of others. Like we have a technical name, which also mentions the hatch season, and we have a couple of other things that we can throw in there. A given name as well, of course. Then we get into the genome, and I won't go through the whole thing here. We did fix one misdocumentation. It's not a bug. It was a misdocumentation in the I can't remember which one of the genes had the wrong numbers on it. So fix that. Everything else pretty much stayed the same. I think we did change this. Do you guys want? I don't know how to pronounce it, but pleiotropy.
Pleiotropy, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what that is? That is genes that affect other genes, right? And there are several in the dragon genome. The first one to show is that the
so you have interplay amongst the genes themselves.
That sex affects size, facial features, the scale of the dragon itself, and various color features. Right, so it depends on the sex.
Right. Well, I mean, and you could also take and build on this idea, right? If you're planning on a game that extends this, right? You can take that and say, I want to take this property, and I want to make it, apparent in the breeding, their temperament or whatever. right?
And when we were doing this,
that sort of thing can be seeded that way.
That was a big part of my what I was trying to do with a lot of this. So you can probably get through it, is I was trying to not quite exhaust the patterns, but I was trying to at least demonstrate as many different genetic models as I could in this, where some of these genes you can see are affected directly by the bits. Some of them are by ranges with weightings, and so a whole bunch of different ways. And if you're a character designer or a game maker, we were really wanting to make it obvious that you could model whatever you wanted and model the how do I say, the diversity or the
right,
the random space that you wanted.
This is a high fidelity genetic simulator that you can manipulate to your own liking if you're using it as a framework.
Yep. Oh, this one's huge. Temperament affects 17 other genes. In fact, it made it very easy to code them, because the snout, the horns, the scales, the head spikes. When we worked with the animators, the 3D designers, essentially, like, say for the horns, they have we'll look, but it has so many levels of different size horns, and you'll see down here, mild, normal, extreme. You'll see when I show the standard genes that these affect, how these are mapped from the values of those other genes. It's really crazy. Magic proficiency. This is interesting because, one of the articles from Lucius talks about this as part of it, that you could get a dragon that has a really high magic proficiency, and it is a gene, so that is something that could be inherited when you breed them. But the magic itself, or the magic points, are entirely individual and based upon the incubation period and the density and stuff. So you might get you might be able to breed this and then hope that you generate a character with magic. It's a cool thing where it's almost like the nature versus nurture type thing. Right. Or anyway,
and if anybody wants to invent a game that says our premise is we're going to genetically engineer a more robust dragon, and you start with one of these guys right here, you can get into this at the level of advanced genetic simulation, right? So you can add as much depth to that as you want. You probably even simulate real life forms with it if you wanted to get extreme.
Oh yeah, we can make a Drosophila or whatever, right? Is that what the what is it called? Drosophila melon,
the fruit fly,
or
right?
melon something? I can't remember. I took genetics. Anyway,
no, God's gift to test animals.
Yes.
Right.
So 17 of these genes, and you can see if you have a normal temperament. Oh, somebody got some thunder.
Oh, that's me. Yeah,
that's cool.
We got a big one rolling
Florida. That's not, you're in Florida anymore, are you?
No, not anymore. I'm in.
I would think that would be Florida. I don't know, for whatever reason. I just remember. Anyway, normal temperaments, you can see that the 0s and 1s map to, I guess 1 and 2s map to 1, 5s and 6 map to 4s to keep things a little more normal. Milds maps the middle values to the middle values, and the extremes maps, the values to push. You have a little more likelihood to get on the edges. So if you wanted something with bigger horns, you want an extreme temperament dragon, and then you're more likely to get the bigger horns, right? It's cool. It's just crazy.
It's kind of neat how it ties to evolution, right? Because you would imagine them evolving just that way, to where the animal with the biggest horns has a competitive advantage in threat displays or whatever.
Yep.
So it ends up being the one that has the bigger horns because of the fact that it's attitudes on top.
Yeah.
Or the other end, the extreme
cool.
no horns, because the ones with the horns keeps getting stuck in the fence or something.
Yep.
Right. Oh, that's true.
I already missed my my big nose.
It'll depend on the season
and
house.
That's right.
Yeah.
I saw one of those in the last test. There was one that had a huge snout. Yeah, really big snout on the dragon. It was cool.
Awesome.
I think it was like the pattern was only turned on the nose. It had no pattern anywhere else, but it had the big nose and then a pattern.
That's awesome.
Man, this is awesome. I hate that we got to get rid of this.
That's so funny.
But,
so
it also plays into like the fact that every one of these is kind of a one of one. Like you don't even know how it's going to turn out until it's born, and you could have the coolest looking dragon on the face of the planet that just like is a general rarity, just because there's so much complexity in the genome.
So here's where the color is. You can go look. It gets into pretty good depth, and I did explain it quite a bit there, but it does also explain how the males versus females affect the different, and it's mostly, I think, applied to the saturation, the primal, companion, and pattern, but then also the zone masks. So it's interesting, and this was something I wasn't sure if it would work, but it does seem to work pretty well and adds a little more variety to them. And you can see how the primal color, that's H is the hue, primal color S is the saturation, it's a byte, V is value, and then you can see there's a zone mask for the head, which is how do I say this? It is 0 to 1, so it's 0 to 100%, right? But it's in I don't know how many bits that is. That it's in so many steps. I think it's 7 bits. I can't remember. And the primal colors we left a little more gradient, so that you can have a lot more variation in the primal color. But it has it for each zone, so you can see there's the head, the neck, the torso, the tail, the wings, the legs. And then it goes to the companion color selector, which this talks about that for all of them, but the Earth Dragon is going to be either the one side or the other, clockwise or counterclockwise, Scout or Guardian. But for air, it could be one of the three. And then it has, again, 8 bits for hue, 8 bits for saturation, 8 bits for value. Then it has mask of head, but it only has 4 bits. So it only has 16 possible gradations of the masking for the companion color. So it's not as fine-tuned. And it has all the same zones, right? Then we go to the pattern colors. And the pattern color has a hue the same as the others. It has a byte for that, a byte for saturation, a byte for value. Then it has a zone mask for the head that, again, is only 4 bits. And it has it for every single zone as well. But this is where the pattern would show, right? But then you can see that we have pattern zone, pattern torso, which means true or false. It's 1 bit. Is it going to be off or is it going to be on? So you might get something that's super bright, but it just doesn't show up on the head. It shows up only on the wings, or when we've seen this stuff, and when you're getting in there, it's like, holy crap, you can really see how this comes out. It's really neat when you guys get to see them. And then we have the same thing with the eye color. So it can have a hue, saturation, and a value. So you have some eyes that look like they're laser eyes, red, bright. You might have some that look like they're totally black, or it's really interesting, the variation.
Yeah.
Then this is about how they show up. Like when you get a dragon hatching, you can go to the genome tab and you can look at the raw data, and you can see among all the other, you can see all the genes themselves, but you can see them grouped together, with these colors. You also will get to see there's an egg density in the magic section. There's a stability. There's a magic agility, and we added this. This is new. The stability, or HP, was there before, which is literally just how many blocks did your dragon take to incubate before it hatched, right? Mm-hmm. And we converted that into HP because essentially if you get something that takes forever to hatch, you're at least building HP, right? That's a good thing. And the opposite of that is the agility, and it's not purely opposite. It's not just how many on the other side or some inverse of that. It is your egg density divided by your stability. So if you end up with a really fast hatching egg, it's going to be more agile, more fast to fly, whatever it is, right? However it's used in a game. And then you have magic type, and this is the part that's really interesting. And we'll see. We've seen in testing it works really well. It's very rare, but essentially, if you have one of the 4 lower density eggs, if it's less than 1 million, then you have the potential to get a stable magic if your incubation period passes your density. So if your stability is greater than your density, meaning if you have a low density egg, it's more likely to hatch early. So if it hatches late, if it hatches past its density number, then you're gonna have magic. And the inverse of that is if you have a high density egg and it hatches or if it hatches earlier than it's supposed to, then you're gonna have unstable magic. And you can see how you can look in the white paper, see how it's calculated. And this is really crazy. And it'll be fun to see how it's used in a game, right? I mean, that's gonna be super interesting.
It'll be easier to see once we've got a good scale of dragons out. You can see what got stable, what got unstable, densities, all that. I know, like right now,
I think it also
hearing this and thinking, "Oh God."
Yeah.
It also definitely means that we're going to need to save some gateway keys for hackathons.
That's a good point. That is a great point, man. Yeah, no joke. We have this. This is new, where we can actually tell you at some point if, hey, this egg is guaranteed to have magic when it hatches because it's already past that point, right? That type of thing. So pretty cool stuff. This is the registration and extension of genomes. That is the fact that you could take these dragons and come in and say, I want to add some gene or some trait that these guys didn't think of for my game. I need it in my game. And essentially what you do is you register the extension. You point to the genome, registered genome that you're extending. You put it on chain. It declares a point in the future. And at that point in the future, all of that is combined to essentially, in a fair way, an unpredictable way, set that gene for all of the existing dragons, right? You could do as any other character too, but this means you could do stuff without cheating the market or without gaming it like that. So it's really cool. Blockchain, we talk about this. We have partially integrated, where Bitcoin blocks and Ethereum blocks are being placed on the Drakaria chain, which is kind of inverse for how Dragon Chain works. We're also expecting to put real world data like market data, weather data, earthquake data for more entropy on chain. We still have to look into some of that to make sure we have good sources and whatever. But that way, a game will be able to pull from the Drakaria chain if they want to natively. We are going to have interfaces for Ethereum and Bitcoin and other types. If you want to say, hey, I want entropy and I only want entropy from Bitcoin, or I only want entropy from Bitcoin and Ethereum, you can do that.
Right. Or let's say you're like running your own network and you want to test the idea that the way that our network works will change the character of entropy in a way for our tasks that we need it to. Right. So we can integrate with other chains and use those as entropy sources as interest arises. And that's one of the other neat powers that this architecture has.
Yep. And we already have 2 customers, one of which is making and I can't announce anything yet because I don't think they're public with it, but a sports related game. They're using it for, they're going to use our entropy for matchmaking. There's another game that is, I believe it's a mobile game, but it's going to use it for the entropy and for tracking the assets and various other things in the game. So it's going to be pretty cool. And the big vision of this is that we're going to have an API so that would-be traditional games can actually use this entropy and actually prove that they're not cheating their fans or their players and stuff, right? This is the list. We have 3 unexposed parties yet that will be as soon as the first egg hatches, as soon as the first dragon is rendered, we will. And if it happens in the middle of the night, you'll have to wait.
Not to hype it too hard, right? Like this is actually legitimately cool. Like you guys are gonna be really surprised when you find this out, and it's not gonna be like it's those guys, those are neat. It's gonna be like, oh holy shit, those guys are fucking awesome.
Yeah, I didn't believe it when I first heard it years ago.
Same.
Yeah. And then we have the war chant. Anyway, so, and by the way, I looked this up. Apparently, when you engrave stuff in Latin, they don't put any punctuation or spaces. And I can't remember, there's a word for it. I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I knew they didn't use the U because it's kind of hard, right, to make it. But I didn't know that the spaces and punctuation.
So let's see here. We go back here. We go to community, see if anybody else is. Eternal Mickey's still the. I mean, make sure. Yep. Okay. We still have. How many unused keys do we have? Let's see here. And you can go. You can say unused keys. And you can say there are 12 unused. Now we do have a couple. I know that Satoshi Sean is supposed to air that video. Maybe something went wrong. I haven't heard from him if it's out or not. We're going to pick someone from that video, and I think we're going to do a couple other podcasts. We could give one away tonight. Now, I don't know if we can give it away tonight. We could mark it to be given away tonight because I'm kind of tired. We need to put it on chain, and we need to poll all the users and. Yeah,
there's definitely questions.
We should do AMA
and in the community, that it's known that there's some more gateway keys, and some folks are just figuring out that they exist as well, and they're curious about, hey, how did people get them? Oh, I didn't know about that. Can I still get one? So you said, Satoshi Sean's episode of his show. What's the plan on getting rid of the rest of these keys, and how long is the Genesis season going to be open to use them?
Well, the main thing would be, I don't know if we're fully decided on this or not. We've only talked in chat about it. So essentially the first step is you need to have an account, right? I don't think we're going to give any more keys away that don't have accounts. So you need to have an account. We're not going to do any more duplicated. So the people that won multiples, that nobody else will win multiples. So it'll be a little more wide out. And ideally, we'll do it from, how do I say this? Like if we had, I don't know if we do. I think we have something like 10 left, maybe. Might be 12, but something like that. And essentially, we could just do one big giveaway where we have another episode, and you have to be in by a certain date, let's say. And the
other thing too is if you're out there right now, we haven't really figured out exactly yet. So if you're a game designer or a family member of a game designer or just a friend of a game designer and they're seriously thinking about making something right now, let them know that now is the time to come to us and ask if they can please have a gateway key. Because if they've got a really great idea, that would justify a rule change. I think everyone would agree around how we unload as many of them as possible, as quickly as possible before the season ends. Certainly would encourage you to reach out if you've got one of those situations going on.
Yep. Let's see here. Looks like limited to 10. We have a limit. Let's say there's 1,000 eggs in some future season available. We limited the single purchase to 10 in order to kind of group it. It's not perfect for sure, but that way you won't have somebody, mostly because we don't want somebody locking up 500 eggs so nobody can buy any, right?
You don't want it to be PlayStation 5s.
Right. So we put that on there. It's still, it's loose, but you can buy 10 at a time. And you're going to be able, the votes by the DAO, we don't know what's going to be available next season, but you're going to be able to buy with a credit card. You're going to be able to buy with Ethereum, with, I think, USDC, and with Dragons, I do believe. Is that correct? Was there anything else? I think that was it.
Nice.
I can't remember if we did USDT also or not, but I know we did USDC. Dragons.
Hey, and if you're running a token that you think has value out there, if your community wants to get in on this, that's also another thing you should hit up. Because
very true.
Partners who want to get their token accepted here, if anyone out there's from Rye, I'm talking to you. You guys should step out of the woodwork.
Yep.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is coming.
Yep. Do we have any questions in there for the actual AMA? Because I'm like, we're at almost to 2 hours.
I don't think so, but somebody said 3D printed dragons, and that made me realize like the fact that these are 3D modeled dragons, not just a flat image, means that we can do so much with it, including conceptually. Like I would imagine converting that to something that is like that you could download a dragon and print it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how about this? A soul-bound chat GPT instance that learns from the experiences of it, right? You know, think about having your dragon run its own social media account for you. And it has its personality involved in how the instance is trained.
Yeah, have you seen, this is all like off the rails at this point, but have you seen like the Bigfoot like affluent social influencer AI generated account? Have you seen that? It's like there's like crazy, like these are things where
here's a
you have an entity that comes to life and can just
good question.
Be the character.
Yeah. So right now, of course, it's all native. It's on chain. It's provable on chain and everything. But we do expect to have the ability to export it to at least Ethereum and maybe other chains as well. To, you know, for security reasons, you could store it. You could do whatever you'd want that way. But you know, there might be
partner inquiries also welcome here. If you represent a chain and you want this thing on there, come talk to us. We'll help you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and if you have ideas for, you know, games or whatever else. Oh, and that is one other thing that should be known. You know, part of the consideration that we've talked about is, you know, let's say you know, I don't know, you know, the early days, it's not going to be a flood of money. They're relatively inexpensive. They're, you know, they're pretty reasonably priced and everything else. That what we want to do is take some of that money, you know, potentially marketing, yes, but probably the big thing that we really think we want to do is game jams, where you would get indie game devs to come in, and ideally it would be once every age, and they would essentially build a game, and that age, that game jam would have some type of a, you know, grand prize would go to community vote on who had the best use of Drakaria entropy, you know, most creative use, or who did the most creative genetic model for a character, right? Or the most unique or novel monetization strategy with
it.
And,
or story and artwork even.
Right, because then
the whole panoply of things that people can do that are great with this.
Right, and because then it's like if you get indie devs coming in and making games that have characters that have a collectible component and a playable component, then it ends up being something that they can probably monetize in a really good way that makes it stretch further and, you know, gives them something better.
I think a question I would want to hear an answer to, even if nobody's asked it yet, is what's the future from a community governance standpoint, and what does governing this thing look like in the future, and what parameters of this are going to be amenable to a DAO type governance, and which things are going to be sort of sacred and baked into the rails.
Yep. Well, the general model, and this is going to be open because this has to be voted on, you know, when we roll it out, is that the base level is going to be the founders, which is, you know, the team that built it. That's one vote, just kind of like it is with Den.Social. You have that as one vote. The second vote is going to be the primal characters, which at first are these primal dragons, but in the future, we would expect to have other characters with different algorithms for how they roll out. They might be far more rare, for example, but there'll be primal other characters. Right. And then the third, I think, would be the standard characters, where, you know, let's say we introduce some a mage or something else that becomes a standard character, has a genome, has everything that a dragon would, but they're not limited. There's no limit, and they're, you know, like $5 or $10 a piece, so you could buy 50 of them if you wanted, and that those will all have a vote, but they comprise that standard character. So there might be a lot more standard characters than primal.
Right. The idea being that as the game grows and gets more popular, the people who actually have skin in the game will always be the one steering what it decides to do. So it's not the sort of thing where you can end up with this really awesome first seed idea like Assassin's Creed and then end up with the monstrous Ubisoft and have it do what it does to games.
Right. It needs to be,
can't get hijacked by people who don't give a shit.
Exactly. It needs to be, and it needs to be balanced. Like, essentially the characters are going to outweigh the founders, but they'll have to consolidate it. It'll have to be a popular thing for, and there probably will be behavior components like in Den as well, not just the pure, I have a dragon, it's a vote. There probably will be some weighting based upon engagement and who knows what else, right?
Yeah, so, I think I wanted to drive home the point because I think it goes without saying for people who know gaming that it's kind of sick right now from an institutional standpoint. And this is a foundation that you can build a game that has the integrity of its past intact, such that anything you do with the franchise has to cohere with the story you've already told. And this is a big part of it with characters.
Yep. And by the way, I didn't even thought about
that. It's definitely part of the solution.
What seasonal governance? You could do seasonal governance where it maybe your fire dragon has more weight in fire season and votes. That could be great. If you
that's an interesting
with houses
concept,
that are kind of like guilds where all the fire dragons get together and that could be crazy.
Right. Or like a guild of cross domain rival coalitions, right? You could have a
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that at all, but it actually brings up like real life reasons that you would do certain rituals on a certain seasonal or a certain conditions. You know what I mean? It's like you meet under the full moon in the fire season, and because that's when it concentrates your vote.
And with genetic game design, the world kind of starts to tell its own story and fills in gaps for you. It makes it a lot easier to write a world.
And should I lay out? There's one other thing that I want to do. It was an idea of one of the team members. It was not my idea, but I think it's such a crazy idea. It would be awesome that we were talking about essentially having the blockchain just randomly, and I don't know if it'll be an account or if it'll be a character, but that it probably would be a primal character. I don't know, but that essentially a king would be selected. And it might. We aren't.
The universe gets a Tom Bombadil, right?
So, yes. But essentially, the chain itself will decide. You could become king, and it might only last 5 minutes. but you'll still be there, king for a day. So anyway, should we close out? I think. This is good. We have a bunch of stuff going. So.
Stochastic
we're just under the 2-hour mark
as far
as from what my counter says. So that's good.
If we want. All right, so I'll tell you what then. We'll close out here. I'm gonna get this ready, and I don't really have anything else to play on the way out because we don't have another trailer. We might have a trailer in later seasons. We have some stuff planned, but it'll be good.
You guys in early though, you're listening now. This is the fun time to be here. There's so much to shape and do. You guys are awesome.
Yep. All right. Well, hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you around. If you have any other questions, you can ping us on X or elsewhere, anywhere, Telegram, and we'll talk to you then. All right. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Goodbye. Thanks. See you at the hatch.